Good evening, this is Jason from English Raven. Welcome to another Teaching Materials Design Masterclass with myself. Not claiming to be a master, but claiming to have put masterful levels of effort into my materials design. We've got a bit of a challenge for you in this one. In my last tutorial, I showed you how to set up a basic framework for something that might be more appropriate for younger learners, perhaps, in terms of the layout. And I thought, well, we'll go to the other extreme now. We'll use a similar layout, but we will challenge ourselves to make something that's for much higher levels, for very advanced levels, older, teenagers, adults, maybe even English for special purposes, English for speckle purposes, something to do with poultry, I think. And so, yeah, we've gone to the other extreme now, but we are going to use the same basic principle in terms of our layout. What you're looking at in the interface at the moment is the PDF version of a bit of material that I whipped up just before starting this tutorial, because I thought what we'll do is we'll look at what we're aiming for, we'll look at what we're aiming to make first, and then I'll take you through those steps and show you how I made it. Now, what you're looking at here is a content-based sort of technical text about bamboo within the theme of conservation. I sourced this material pretty quickly. What you might find a little bit stunning is that this took me about 30 minutes to make, and that included sourcing the material that I was going to write about, sourcing the picture, and also the questions which follow down here, the actual language work stuff that follows up. Now you'll notice that there are 3 pages to the document, and that's because I've set this up, as I normally do these days, as something that I'm going to use on a screen, as well as something that I'm going to print out for the learners. Now, this initial screen that you're looking at now would be the first one that I show to the class. You can see it's blank to the right here at the moment. I would then embed here a sound file of me or someone else reading aloud this text. Another option would be just for the teacher to read it out loud to the class, but this is something I could show to the learners, and I could actually, because it's in PDF format, I could really make the text a lot bigger so that the class could see it up on a screen, and we could talk about it together. We could start by talking about what this picture and the heading's about. We could have a quick discussion before we read this out loud. As I said, I would embed a listening file here so I could press play and the learners could actually listen to the text. And then I would move on to the next screen that looks like this, and we've got some vocabulary items listed in the side here. This would be also what the learners would see on their handout. At this point, I would actually hand out my handout. I guess that's why they're called handouts. I would actually distribute my handouts, and that would be a double-sided handout with this on the front that you're looking at now, and then this on the back. So it would be a double-sided material, and it would look like that. But I've started with this screen at the start so that we could do a little bit of brainstorming, listening to the text, going through the text without the learners all putting their heads down and looking at their texts, which is what I would do in the second stage. So, how did I build this? You might be thinking, wow, that's way beyond me. Alternatively, you may be looking at saying, that looks seriously crap. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I'm pretty happy with it. It's at a draft stage, in my opinion. Given that it was all made in about 30 minutes, I can still see little areas where it could be improved. And the content itself definitely needs to be improved. But at least we've got something to work with, and I can show you how this was built. So I'm now going to go to this document here. Now this is my preparation document. This is how I actually got my content first. I found a passage about bamboo because I was thinking, we'll work within the general theme of conservation and natural materials and that sort of thing. And this might be the first stage of a couple of stages in terms of looking at the idea of plants and conservation and sustainable use of natural materials and that sort of thing. So I've just sourced a text from Wikipedia, believe it or not, about bamboo. Normally I would then go in and edit this and make it level appropriate. If this was an IELTS or TOEFL class, this would probably be at the right level already. And then I've pulled out some technical vocabulary that I think needs to be sort of examined and expanded on, and sometimes it's very technical vocabulary that I think the learners need to just get at definitions for. Other times it's just complicated, or sorry, advanced vocabulary that I think is very useful for the learners to use, because they've got a higher frequency across academic texts. I've written a couple of reading comprehension style questions focused on 4 particular words that I want them to do more vocabulary work with, and I've sourced a picture which, yes, I should be able to format in various ways. I've got a button ready, as well as a rubric next to it. Normally I would have those in another document, in another template that has all my buttons ready to go, just to be cut and pasted, but I've just put them here for the purposes of making my quick text. If you're wondering how that button was made, remember that's from tutorial 3, Pretty as a Button. I explain in detail, and they're very simple to make actually. So if you're wondering how to make that, go back to tutorial 3 and have a look. So that's our source text, that's our source. Now we're going to try and look at how we can put this into a really cool format and make it super presentable for our learners. So I've got a blank document open here. I'm going to go to my page layout and change that to landscape and pull it into a more manageable size. Okay, now what we're looking for is we want to create this look with the curved sort of header and footer, and later we'll put this picture in. Now, what I showed you in one of the previous tutorials was how to make that with a sort of bubble in the middle, but that's not going to work in this case, because we're going to put a picture in as well, and if we put that bubble in, it's going to scrub the picture out. So I'm going to show you a different way of building that now. So we're going to go into our header and footer, and what we're going to do is we're going to insert, and now what I would like you to do is go to shapes. Now have a look through all this big menu of items in shapes. There's lots to choose from. The one we are looking for is the banana. Now where is the banana? I can't find him now. Where is he? There he is. There's the banana. Okay, there's our banana. Okay, alright, let's make our banana a bit bigger. Right, there's our banana. Now I want you to twist your banana. God, I hope someone doesn't take some of this commentary wrong. If someone comes into the room and hears me talking on your computer and hears me saying, now twist your banana like this, just tell them that it's all in the name of professional development. Resize it, make it bigger like that. Now, obviously things are looking a bit weird at the moment, aren't they? Don't worry. For a start, let's just give it a fill. Alright, we'll give it a fill, and then we'll just push that, go to that bottom box there and push it up. Push it up like that. Okay, now take it over to the edge of the page and take it over to this side of the page and just pull it down so that the middle is just above your dotted line here. Okay, and then you can squeeze it up like that. Okay, keep pushing it down until it sort of looks about right. You can always pull it down here too by putting on that yellow button there. And I'm getting a bit closer now to what I'm looking for, but I don't want those edges to come. Right, that's about what I'm looking for there. Okay, I'll just push it up a little bit more like that. Now what I want to do is I want to get these edges off as far as they can go, so I'm going to squeeze it across even further and then level it up. Okay, that should sort of work now, and it looks like it's roughly in the middle. Okay, that's not the fill that I want though. That's I want to go for something that looks more dark blue like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my shape fill. I'm going to choose this dark blue here. Okay, now Obviously, you know, we've still got this big blue banana hanging off the top of the page, and we've got these white gaps, and oh, it doesn't look too flash, does it? So go to insert again, and now insert another rectangle. Whoops, I lost my rectangle. Insert a rectangle and make the shape fill the same blue, and make the shape outline the same shape, the same color, sorry. Now pull it over there and pull it up like that and pull it across. Voila. Okay? If you're annoyed by my use of the word voila, I do apologize. But you can see now we've got that curved interface just like we had here. Okay? Just like that. And that was simply by making a banana and turning that banana upside down and reshaping it and twisting it and doing whatever we needed to do to get a nice smooth arc through here, and then resizing it so that we could then put this rectangle, so our banana's up there with the edges way off the ends, and then I've just over the top put that rectangle which just fills up the rest of the space. So we're good to go there. That's looking fine. So now what we want to do is make our bottom one. So click on the banana, and you'll know which one the banana is as soon as that little diamond appears, that little yellow diamond. Now copy that and paste it and pull it out. Okay, now pull it over until this green circle appears, and that allows us to flip it back the other way again. Okay, and all we've done is reversed the shape of our banana there, and I'm going to go a little bit lower for this one because it's in the footer, and I'm going to pull it down about to say there. Alright, it's going to be a little bit closer to the bottom, and is that what I did here? Yes, you can see it's just that little bit closer towards the bottom there, whereas this one was a little bit higher actually. So I'll pull that down a little bit and then extend that a little bit to get rid of the edges there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a lighter shade. Okay, I'm going to make this, and I'm going to make the arc a little gentler too. I'm just going to pull that up so that it's not quite as severe an arc at the bottom, it's a little bit straighter. Okay, now I'm going to go back to format. Alright, we've still got our bottom banana highlighted there, and I'm going to change the shape fill to yeah, just a lighter shade of blue. Maybe that looks better. Can't remember which one it is I used. I'll use that. How does it look on here? Yeah, that's right. Okay. Now it's the same basic principle again in terms of how you fill in the rest of the space. It's just a matter, you could even just use the rectangle up here you've already made by clicking at the top of the page. Right, copy that, paste it, drag it down to the bottom, and just change it. Go back to the back to format. Sorry, format. Make it that color there, same as the banana is, and change the outline also to that color. Now what you've got is the bottom and the top looking pretty much like that. What I might do is just pull this down a little bit. There we go. Okay. Alright, so we've got our bottom and we've got our top, and that looks pretty similar. Okay, it's not exactly the same dimensions, I guess, but we're on the way. That's certainly not what we're looking for. So we've got our header and our footer, we've got our bubble shape, but the thing is, the reason I've done it like this, instead of just putting in a big oval like this and reshaping that until I get that arc shape over there and there, the reason I haven't done that is because I still want to work with this space, and if this shape's here, it's going to get really messy and complicated. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in just the rest of my little stuff here that I do to indicate what sort of material it is. I'm going to insert a curved rectangle, rounded rectangle. I'm going to do that like this. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it fully rounded by dragging that yellow diamond, and what I want is I want that to come to about there. Okay, and I'm going to make that shape feel same as the bottom. What did I do over here? Actually, I made it a dark blue, so we'll go to dark blue. Shape fill, and we'll give it, which one was it? Give it this one here. Now I can't remember which one it is I used now. Let's have a look at our master. Yeah, I think that's it actually. Okay, yeah, that's it. Now I'll change my shape outline to the same shade of blue, and I probably don't need it to be that big. Now remember, when you print, you get this top couple of little segments at the top. You might get a slight white line that appears at the top there and at the bottom there, so you don't want to push your stuff too close to the top of the page. Alright, now I'm just going to pull that now. I've got it to about there. Right, so that's going to be the backdrop for our general theme. So I'm going to insert another text box, a floating text box, like so. I'm going to right click on it and add text. I'm going to write conservation. I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to change it to Sego Print. You could use whatever font sort of works for you. Doesn't need to be this one. Now I'm going to bold that, and I'm going to change it to white. Now you think, oh, where's it gone? Right, click on your text box, go to your format, get rid of the fill, get rid of the outline. Okay, and there you go, there's our conservation heading. Right, now I'm reshaping the box just to make it a bit more manageable, and then I'm going to slide it across over the top of that. Just have a look at our master. Actually, I didn't use bold there, that's just a little bit too thick. So I'll go and take the bold off that. Yeah, that looks a little bit more subtle. Alright, and I'm just using my arrows on my keyboard to do this, just by going up, down and across. And it's just a little bit more precise in terms of how you move your text box around. Now I've moved it over that because that's going to be our sort of left border down there. And yeah, so that's sort of what I wanted there. Right, now going back to our master, we're also going to have our blank box over here for students to write their name and their date in, and their date. Oh, who are they dating? And the date, I should say. So we go to insert. Now I've got two there, you might have noticed. So I'm going to go to the rounded rectangle again. I'm going to pull that in and drop it like that. I'm going to make it fully rounded by dragging that yellow diamond. I'm going to pull it off just to the side like that. Maybe put it up a little bit. I'll do that a little bit later. And I'm going to pull this across to, well, it's a bit too far. Maybe about, say about there. Okay. And I'm going to change that. Now what did I do in the master? I put that same dark blue as that one over there. You might be thinking, God, this guy's fussy. Well, you'd be right. I like to make stuff that looks good. Alright, I'm going to change that shape, fill and outline to that same dark blue. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to go back to home. I'm going to copy that and paste it and pull it out, and I'm going to change it to that shade of blue down there. So go back to my format, go to my shape fill, change it to that blue. Might even make it a little bit lighter, and go to your outline and do the same. Now what I'd like you to do is put it over like that, and then pull it over here and just pull it to the end of that because this is layered over the top. All you got to do is slide that edge over like that. Okay, now the effect is that you get this idea of that bubble there, but it's sort of shooting out from the side of the page there, but subtly. And you can see with the distance between the edge here and the page and the edge here and the page is about the same. It is fairly similar to what we made up there. This one's a bit thinner, so I might just quickly do that because I'm using a smaller a smaller screen size at the moment, which means this is all going to look a lot bigger once but that should be enough anyway for the students to write their name and the date, not their date, although they can do that if they like. Depends what sort of class you're running there. So we've got our general theme, we've got our box for the students to write their name and the date in. The only thing we're missing down here is your authorship. Now I always encourage you to do that, so go back to your shapes again, make another square and add text, and I'm going to put in English Raven. You could put in your name and your website or your blog. But remember, take pride in what you're making. Make sure everybody knows that you made it. It's important to get credit for what you do, especially when you go and put this much effort into your material. You don't want it sort of hovering out there in obscurity. I'm going to change that to a white text. Then I'm going to go back to my format and I'm going to get rid of the fill, no fill, and no outline. Okay, now you'll notice if we go back to our text box, pull it down, it's going to sit nicely on top of that. Just make it more manageable, and then just pull it to where you want it on the page down there in the bottom corner. I'm actually going to move the text over to the right side of the box just to give me a frame of reference, and I'm just going to pull it down a little bit. There we go. Right, that works pretty well. Notice how the edge of the M there is roughly in line with that circle at the top. Again, we've got about the same amount of space from the edges and around. There's a nice little sort of invisible square working there. And this is something I do instinctively now, but you know, you'll get there with practice, and you know, it's just one of those little things that just shows that your stuff's really professionally formatted. So we've got our background now. We've got everything we need. The only thing we don't have, which is the same as this, is this picture of the bamboo here. Okay, and you'll see now why I made these arcs this way and left this space blank so that I can work within that space. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to pull this this picture I've sourced, this bamboo picture. I'm going to copy that by hitting Control C, or I could have just used that button there, the copy button. I'm going to go back to my template, and I'm just going to press Control V. Okay, that didn't work. Okay. And I think it's because, yes, it's too small, that's why. So what I'm going to do is go back to this picture in the other document. This is not normally how I do it, so just bear with me. And Microsoft's gotten a little bit shirty with me now because Microsoft's all slowed down because I've layered a picture behind that bar there. So we'll just wait for it to catch up until the dots appear around this again. Okay, that's not letting me do it. So what I'll do is I'll do it the old-fashioned way. I'll go back into my header and footer. I'm going to insert a picture from File. This is where I had my picture to start with, so I'll go in here and find my bamboo picture. Here it is. I'll insert that. Okay, now that's how the other way you can get your picture if you're having trouble copying and pasting it over. Now look what happened when I threw that in. It moved my header all the way down there and it's all gone shalonky. Don't worry. First thing you do is don't panic. Right click on your image. Right click and go to text wrapping. And then choose in front of text. And everything will be healed. Alright, so that just layers it over the top of our anything else we've done, and we can move it wherever we like, and nothing gets pushed around, nothing gets sort of pushed out of whack. Now what I want to do is turn this around so that it's vertical, because I don't want to use a horizontal version of this. I don't want it on an angle either, but that could be an option. And I've just straightened it up like that. And I'm going to move it over to roughly where I want it. now I'm holding my mouse, I'm holding the button down in order to do this, to drag it like that. Okay, I probably don't need it to be that big, so I'll shrink it a little bit and move it over. Now notice how I've lined it up with that that corner there. But you know, it's not looking real good, is it? It's sticking over the top of everything. Very, very easily fixed. Alright, now make sure it's still highlighted. Go to your options up here and send to back. And look at that, it tucks in beautifully behind your that formatting that you've already done. Now I'm going to give it a little bit more I could do this, and that will just fade out the edge there a little bit, which can be one way of doing it. There are other options though. That can be one nice way of just having your shade work in like that. What I did on the master document though was I just put a slight shadow with a straight edge, which is fine. You could go either way. You know, it's important to experiment. Now, because this is an image, everything's slowed down, and because I've layered it, Microsoft, and I've got a screencaster going, Microsoft's going, hey, hang on, what's going on here? So I'll wait for my little circle to calm down, and it will eventually, don't worry. There we go. And what I'm going to do is to get that straight line with a slight shadow. Which one of these was it? I think it's this one. Yeah, that's the one. And I'm just going to drag it so that we could still got a bit of a line up with the edge of that bubble at the top. That's a bit too far. Alright, if you're having trouble straightening it up with your mouse, use your arrow keys. And that's for very minor adjustments in your image. Okay, right, that's looking pretty good. So what we've done is we've actually set up our document now. We've set up our header and our footer and our backdrop. We can go out of our header and footer now by clicking in this blank space here. And you can see everything's all set up. Now it's not precisely the way I made it there. It's a little bit slimmer, but that's okay. The basic principles are at work there. I think so. Yes, these ones have come out a little bit further, but that's okay. I'm happy with what we've got there. And that's our basic template for this material that we're going to make. So what we want to do now is put our content in, isn't it? And we are now in the front screen of our document. Now this is a really important tip that I'm going to give you here. See how our cursor's up there? It's because we haven't put anything in here yet. We haven't typed anything or put anything in there. A really important tip is do not start putting text boxes and stuff in here or formatting anything in here with only one line and one cursor there. Alright? Hit enter and go right down until you go right off the page. Okay? Right, see how I've put the cursor right over onto that second page? There's a reason for that, and you'll see it in a moment. That's because if I put any sort of text boxes or anything like that in here and then try to copy and paste any of it, if there's only one line there, everything gets really complicated. It'll stuff up on you. So always enter down until you've got at least 2 pages showing, so that when you want to copy and paste a page, you're not going to run into troubles on account of there being no input in here, nothing actually entered onto that page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my text in now. I'm going to put my text into my bamboo text here. I'm going to put this bamboo text into that area there. Okay, now the way we do that is to enter another text box roughly to the dimensions that we want, and we add text. Go to your preparation document, copy your text and paste. Right, now as you can see, the text is pretty small because it was just in that initial font that I used to generate it, I'm going to change this to change it to Candara, and I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to make it about, say, that big, size 14. I'm going to pull that edge up a little bit. I'm going to change the size of this to, say, 20. And just pull your text box down a little bit more, like that. Pull it over a little bit. And that's looking fairly much what I wanted. Might need to go out a little bit more. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. Okay, now just go back to your format. Go back to your format, get rid of the fill, and get rid of the outline. And as you can see, our text is now floating there. I don't know why there's no full stop there. Okay. Our text is now in. Our text is now in the system, just like it was here. Okay. I've used Candara. There's a variety of text fonts that you could use, but it's roughly in the middle. It's taking up roughly the middle column there, which is what I wanted. Now, just check your formatting. Now, look, don't worry if this isn't big enough for the screen. You can always zoom in when you're using your screen version of this. Whereas I think with the printed version for the learners, this is a fairly generous font size. And you should always print your documents just to see what they look like. You may need to make a couple of quick prints just to see how they come out. Now I'm going to put in a little barrier on the side here. I'm going to insert one of our curved rectangles, like so. I'm going to pull it in as thin as I can take it, and then I'm going to move it roughly in line with that box up there. Pull it down. Right, now I'm going to give that a very light grey fill. Okay, and now I want it to be thin. Alright, I want it to be rather unobtrusive. So in terms of the shape outline, I'm going to choose white. Okay, and I'm actually going to go back to the shape outline again. I'm going to go to the weight, and I'm going to give it about a 2 1/4 inch. There you go, and that just makes it a lot thinner. Now just from memory, it was even lighter than that, so I'll go back to that document and see how it's a very light shade of grey there. So I'm going to go back to my format, my shape fill, and actually give it the lightest grey I can. Now look, that probably won't turn up on the photocopy. Okay, when you photocopy it, that line won't turn out. It's just something that appears when it's up on the screen. It's very subtle, so it may not come out that clearly when you're using your photocopied version. Now that is a space for us to put key vocabulary in, but on the first page of our document, we've just got it like that. Because we are generating that first screen, as I introduced at the start, for us just to read the text, to talk about it without getting too distracted with all the complicated vocabulary yet. That will be on the student's version of it, but not on the first screen. And this is our the first page of the screen version. Now, in order to copy and paste this page, because we don't want to have to build this all over again on this page here, do we? What we want to do is cut and paste it. So move your arrow right over to the edge and just click when the cursor appears at the top there. Now move your arrow just so that the arrow appears. Hold down your mouse until it turns that blue color there, and pull your mouse right down to the bottom of your page, no further. Now press copy. Go to your next page, and notice how the format's staying exactly the same. Now paste that. Okay. Alright, you can see it's exactly the same as the first page there. But now on this second page, which will be the first page of the student's handout, we want to put this vocabulary, and we've got a vocabulary list here. So what I suggest you do is copy that list. Just press copy, go back to your main document, insert another text box by going to shapes and box, and just pull it in like that. Don't worry, we're going to make it all see-through in a minute. Alright, right click on it, add text, throw in that vocabulary list like that. Don't worry, we can do some stuff with it in a moment. We can now reshape this a little bit, just so it's a little bit more manageable. Okay, go to your shape fill and get rid of the fill, and get rid of the outline. Geez, you hear me saying that a lot in these things, don't you? Alright. Now, I'm pretty happy with the size of the text there and the font. It's a little bit smaller than the main text. I'm just going to line it up so it's roughly about the same as the input text. Alright. And I want a bit of room to the right so that students could write translated versions of this or quick notes, but I don't want it to be quite that dark. So I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to go to the home part here. This is my font color. So I'm going to change that to just a dark grey color. You can see that just makes it's still clear, but it doesn't detract from the text too much. And that's what you were looking at here. If I go to the second page here, this is basically what we're looking at. Okay, it looks quite similar. Alright, this is how it'll look if we print it in, if we make a PDF of it. So that's the first page of the student version. When we print this out for the learners and photocopy it, this will be the first page of their handout, whereas when we present it in class, we're actually going to start with that screen first. You know, do a bit of schema building, a general discussion about the theme and the heading, maybe read it out loud, listen to a recorded version, and then we'll hand out our documents, hand out the materials to the learners. It'll look like this on the first page, and we can sink our teeth into the text a bit more at this stage. Now, the third page is basically this one. Alright, now this is not going to take as long as you might think. So what I'm going to do is, we're on to our third page now. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to again enter down until we get off that page, because I don't want to get stuck if I'm trying to cut and paste stuff. Right, so we've finished our second page, we're now on to our third page. Now, because we've already prepped all our stuff, this can be fairly easy. Right, I'm going to copy that, hold my shift key down and copy that, because I've already made it. Go back to my document here and press paste. And it pops up down the bottom there. Okay, now what you're going to do is just hover over it until you can see that cross, and that allows you to drag the whole thing. Like that. Okay, now in our master text I actually changed those rubrics to a dark blue color, so I'll do that. I'll just highlight that and change the font to this blue here. Okay, so I think it was a bit darker actually, so I'll make it a bit darker. I'll go with the navy. What did I do in the master one? Just bear with me. It was it wasn't quite that dark, so I'll just, look, you don't have to make it exactly like the template. You don't need to be fussy. Anyway, we've got our first rubric there. Now, just in preparation, right, so click on that, hold your shift key down, click on that, so that they're all highlighted. Copy and paste. Wait until your little cross appears, so that you can drag it all together, because we know we want 3 sections here. So we'll just get them ready. Again, copy, paste. Wait for your little, don't be impatient with it. All right. See how that cross appears? That means I now have permission from Bill Gates to drag my stuff around. We can line these up later. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is insert another text box, a floating transparent text box like so, and I'm going to add text, and I'm going to go back to my preparation document, and here's my first section. And now look, I've already written these questions out, so I copy that, go back to my document and press paste, and in they come. Now I'm just going to change the font to Kandara because that's sort of what I'm working with at the moment, and I'm just going to increase the size of them a little bit like so. And look, you notice how it pops up like that. It's just a matter of stretching your text box out. Okay, now again we go back to our format, we get rid of the shape fill, and we get rid of the outline, and our questions are in there and ready to go. So there are our quick comprehension questions. Now we could probably move this up. I'm just using my arrows at the moment, and that's probably enough. And our second section was what? Looking at our preparation document, translate these words and define them in English. Okay, so I'll cut and paste that into here. Now you notice how it's brought out the original font again. So what I need to do is check what the font was there, Kandara 14 dark blue. So I highlight it, I go to Kandara, I go to 14, and I make it blue. Okay, now what I'm going to do this time to keep a consistency is go back to that text box that we already made up there, and copy it, click out of it, and then press paste. Now remember, if you highlight the box and cut and paste, or copy and paste, that box goes inside the other box. If you have no idea what I just said, then try it out, you'll see what I mean. Now we want to translate these 4 words here. So what I'm going to do is cut and paste those 4 words in, like so. I'm going to highlight them, I'm going to change it to font size 12, and I'm going to change the font to Kandara. Okay, good, looking good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly show you how I made these things here. They're rather, they're rather suave looking, and I like how they work in with the overall theme. So what I'm going to do is, I've got the words in first, that's the key point. I'm now going to insert a shape, and it's going to be a rounded rectangle, and I'm just going to drag it over the top like that. Okay, right, maybe to the border there, so it's basically in line with that side there. You notice it has a bit of a line there, and I'm going to curve it. I'm going to change the shape fill to a slightly dark green. Okay, and I'm also going to change the outline to a slightly dark green, like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send that to the back. See how it's got here, send to back, and look at that, it just layers that behind our text. So we'll do that for the others as well. So I'll go home, copy, paste, and just pull that over the next one. Just get it straight, and copy and paste. Now I can already see I've run into a problem here, so I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete that. I've made this too thick. Alright, so I'm going to squeeze it up a little bit, and then pull it down a little bit like so. Alright, now I'm going to cut and copy and paste it, and put them over the other words. Copy, paste. Don't worry, we'll make those words visible again in a minute. Copy, paste. Right, now you can see these are a bit out of whack. I'm just using my arrow key to get them a bit more consistent in terms of their spacing. So they're about an even distance from each other. Okay. Alright, now if you highlight all of them together, that's by holding the shift key and just pressing on each one, go to Format and send them all to the back, and all our words appear there. Okay, now we've got our basic outlines there. So I'm going to click on one, I'm going to go home, I'm going to copy and paste it again, but I'm going to change the color. Alright, I'm going to go to that next shade of green for both the fill and the outline. You notice how it's changed there? And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to pull it up there. I'm going to pull it right across, right so it's just next to the word itself. Okay? And now I'm just going to cut and paste that 3 times. Paste, paste, paste. And I'm going to pull them down and just layer them on the top. Now you might think, this is finicky. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going a bit slower than I normally would because I'm trying to explain it and demonstrate it. But you can see how much better that looks already. We've got the key word and we've got a space here because we want them to translate it and then we want them to define the word. So we need to have another layer. So copy and paste again. Go to your Format, make it the next shade of green down for the fill and the outline. And now we just want to drag this across to the right size, pull it up here, and pull it over so we're giving them adequate room to translate. And as you can see, what we might do for the outline though is make it the next one up, and then copy, paste, copy, paste, and paste. And just slot them over the top like that. Now what you've got is there's various ways you could have done that, but we've got a sort of 3-layered vocabulary bar there. One with the keyword, a space to translate it, and a space to define it. That's not the only way you can deal with vocabulary, obviously, but this is a slightly more special way of actually presenting that. And well, we're going to have to change this to B. So change that to B. We'll change this to C. C was pretty easy. Going back to our preparation document, in your opinion, how might bamboo be important for conservation? Okay, so we just slot that in. That's a little bit longer. Okay, so we highlight it, change it to Kandara. Try to be consistent, you know, with size, color, font. Notice how I've just made that consistent with the other instructions there. Now what I want to do is I want to line this up so that it lines up with the other rubrics that we've produced there. So I'm going to pull this over here. Now first I'm going to line up these ones. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3. That's just by clicking on one, then shift, hold it down, shift, hold it down. Go to your Format and go to Align. And we want to align them all left. And notice how it just pulls them all over together. And the same with this one. Right, I've clicked on it. Now go up and hold the Shift key down and click on the next one and the next one. Go back to Format, go to Align, and align those left as well, and everything lines up perfectly. Click on that. I'm just going to make that, yeah. Now the last part, and you must be thinking, thank God we're at the last part. I know I am. It took me 30 minutes to make this, but it's taking me an hour to present it. Looking at our master document, they're just lines that we put in for the learners to write on, and that's just a simple matter of going to Insert, Shapes, Line, and just pulling them in until they're straight. You might like for that to be a dark grey color instead of jet black, and you might like to change the weight of that to half rather than 3/4, and then it's just a matter of copying and pasting those lines as well. And then just fidgeting around with them until you get them all straight. Again, you could use your align function. I'm just going to make these really quickly, like so. Okay, our last line, come on. And what you now have, if we go to print preview, okay, Right, we've got our first page with the text and a blank space here. We've got the text on the second page of our presentation version with some vocabulary pulled out for the learners, which is also the first page of their handout. This is the one we print on the first side of their handout. And we've got the comprehension questions, the vocabulary work, and a bit of extension writing as well on the back of their handout. But it's also something that we can present up on the screen. Notice how I've left plenty of space here. The learners could actually write their answers in here. There's plenty of room to actually write quick answers in there. So I'll close the print. Now all you'd need to do from here is to make it into a PDF. There's a couple of different ways you can do that. First, you'll need to save it. Alright, so in fact you should save your documents really early on, and I'll call this bamboo worksheet, and I'll save that, and it will save. You need to save the document first, and then you need to, there's a couple of options. You can save it then as a PDF. See Adobe PDF? That's something you can do in Microsoft Word for most versions. Another thing you can do is, if you've got Adobe Acrobat built in, it gives you that plug-in here in Microsoft Word, which is the way I'll use it. And I'll just create a PDF from this, and it's going to now make a PDF version. Okay, and it's when you put it in PDF that you see really how flash it does look. Okay, it's just slowly doing this for me at the moment because we've got the screen casting go, and that's what it looks like once we PDF it. I'll just put this like so, and put it like so you can see it in the screen there. Okay, this is what our document looks like. We've got our input text here with a lovely picture, was part of the theme. We've got that nice flowing border. Alright, we've got our second page, which is the same, but it's got the vocabulary built into the side there. And then we've got our sort of our language work and our comprehension work, extension work on the back of that. So this is the back page of the handout, that's the front page of the handout, and this is just our extra option for the screen. So, thanks for bearing with me. That's how you build that sheet. There were a lot of skills that I used there, and you may be a bit overwhelmed with some of them if you're new to this. But lucky it's in video format, so you can go back and you can have a look at how I did it step by step. One of the things you said is watch the lines. See the lines here? That line matches up there. We've got a rather even sort of line around the edge in terms of where stuff is. The footer is a little bit lower than the header is. It's a lighter color than the header. These are just the little things you need to sort of be aware of and experiment with. And I dare say that if you take this into your learners and it looks like this, and it looks like this, that I think your learners are actually going to have a lot of trouble distinguishing your material from really well professionally made materials by big publishers. And it's worth developing these skills because this stuff looks pretty good, and your learners will love it. So that's the Bamboo Challenge. I hope I haven't put you to sleep. I hope you've got some new things to learn and take on board. And by all means, visit me on my blog and ask me questions about this material if you're really struggling with any of it. Sorry the content wasn't quite as good as I might have liked in terms of bamboo, but it really doesn't matter. You could put all sorts of content in here. But again, we've made stuff that we can use up on a screen that looks good, as well as generating a worksheet that we can refer to on the screen as well as on paper. So that's the Bamboo Challenge. I hope you've enjoyed that. I've certainly enjoyed having you with me, and I'll see you next time for, I promise, a much, much shorter tutorial because I'm done.